Hey, I'm Brant Pinvidic. I'm a TV producer and the author of The 3 Minute Rule. And you're watching Sachin and the Ochakde Show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Ochakde Show. If you're new here, this is a talk show or a podcast where I interview entrepreneurs and inspiring individuals from all walks of life so we can learn from their story and level up ourselves wherever we are, however old we are, or whatever we like to do. With this show, you can take your game to the next level. Today, I'm extremely excited. We have a very special guest, Brant Pinvidic. Brant is the author of The 3-Minute Rule. He's an award-winning film director, veteran television producer, and founder and CEO of Envelope Entertainment. He's also a former Forbes contributor. He's a professional speaker and coach. And Brant has created and sold more than 300 television projects and executive produced nearly 50 series and a dozen films. Brant, did I miss anything or was that everything?
No, that's a long list. All
right, I guess I got everything. Well, how are you doing?
Yeah.
And welcome to the show.
Fantastic. I'm so excited. Thanks for having me.
Are you always fantastic? Is that how you always feel?
I mean, it's been a while that I've been working on that, but pretty well. My goal each day is to find as much joy and fun as I possibly can. So it has to be a big derailment to have a bad day for me. My baseline is pretty good.
How do you find that joy?
The irony is it's actually quite a bit of practice. I think people mistake the idea that when they get a little older, when they get a little richer, they will be able to just go have fun and do whatever they want, and which is true from a technical sense, but not a real sense. In a real sense, they actually don't really know what they want to do anymore. They lose sight of that. And the money that you've made over the years doesn't buy you any happiness because you don't even know what to spend it on. So for the last 5-6 years, I've really been working on the idea of how do I create moments and experiences around, the success I've had to try to just fill my life with a little bit more joy and excitement and happiness and adventure and appreciation, that kind of stuff. But it's not easy. It just takes a lot of practice.
I love that. That was amazing. So anyways, let's start off with what are you currently working on right now?
I'm working on trying to be as retired as possible, which is not easy to do. I'm out of the day-to-day of television, thank goodness. And I started consulting a lot over the last 4 or 5 years with big companies on their messaging and their storytelling. And so now I'm in the middle of trying to dial that back and trying to just do a little bit more of my charity work and spend more time in my adventure pursuits. But I filter through a lot of really great companies. The more you say no to things, the more interesting things come your way. So I've got some interesting companies that I'm working with right now that I'm really excited about it and what they're doing. So I spend a lot of time looking at that.
So when I asked you that question, you said thank goodness of being a TV executive. Why thank goodness?
TV is not fun, exciting, sexy, or creative. That's just the truth. It feels like it. It can look like that. People think it's like that. It's really not. I mean, it's a business. It's a very seasoned business. It's a very lucrative business. And that means it's wildly competitive. It's wildly high tech and finite. And there's not a lot of room for, big out of the box things to change the paradigm of what's happening. It's not the way the world works. TV makes widgets. Movies are widgets. And outside you think it's big and fancy and creative and celebrities and all this kind of stuff. And it's just not really like that. So I stopped loving it years ago. I was doing it just to chase the paychecks. And then eventually you get to the point where you're like, wait, I'm going to stop doing that. And so I'm very happy to be out of the day-to-day that I still have many TV projects. I'm in the middle of doing a movie right now. So I like that space. It's just a different pace for me right now.
I see. Yeah, I thought you would have a different opinion on TV because I was actually recently on a TV show called 2-Minute Drill where I pitched my company and I had 2 minutes to pitch the company. I was competing for $50,000. I won an award on the show, so that was exciting. But yeah. We're going to talk more about TV, but let's talk about your book. Your book is a national best-selling book. It's called The 3-Minute Rule. Can you tell us some more about the book, and then also why is it called The 3-Minute Rule?
Well, the 3-minute rule is something we sort of pioneered when we were doing television editing, and each scene we had to resolve that scene within 3 minutes because the audience just would tune out by then. And so when I started working with companies on their pitches and their presentations outside of television, I realized I was using the same structure and the same basically rules. And so that's it's called the 3-minute rule, which is everything about your business, product, and service must be conveyed clearly and concisely and accurately in the first 3 minutes. And if you don't gain interaction and traction in those first 3 minutes, your odds of doing so after that just plummet astronomically. So that's where the rule sort of came from. And it's really about your first 3 minutes, your explanation, simplifying your message in a very clear way, and then that will lead to your next 3 minutes.
Why did you choose, like, how did you figure out it was 3 minutes?
There's actually some science behind so it's called approach motivation, which is what motivates us as humans to engage with someone, to engage with something with interest. And they've done a lot of studies on how that is. And your initial yes or no, whether you're interested in something, is formed in your mind incredibly quickly. I mean, you've probably had people ask you to do something, and before they even get their explanation out, you're already thinking yes or no.
Yeah.
And that's because we are qualifying elements of the request instantly. So we make decisions as humans in 3 steps. We conceptualize, then we contextualize, then we actualize, which means one, I got to understand the concept of what it is I'm looking at or being asked to do or what's happening. Then I got to understand the context. How's it going to relate to me? How am I going to be impacted? What will I benefit from that? And then we actualize, meaning like, okay, how do I make that a reality? And so it doesn't matter if you're trying to pick out clothes to wear today, or you decide if you're going to go to war with another country. Those decisions, same process. And so when someone pitches or presents you something in a way that doesn't follow those exact processes, you take the information and run it through your own, and you have a yes or no in your mind right away. And so what the 3-minute rule does is, if you do it right, if you lay out a story in such a way that walks someone through that process, you could, if you do it right, extend that initial yes or no until a maximum of 3 minutes. And then, after that, there's just no more attention span. So the book is geared to be like, hey, everything about your business, product, or service that you do of value has to be contained in that 3 minutes. There's no point trying to hold something for later, which I see a lot of clients do. They're like, they have a big reveal, and so they have it later in their presentation, which is a disaster.
Yeah. And the book is obviously about like pitching and how to win a pitch or a presentation. But for people that are even not like interested in entrepreneurship or business, you're always pitching, really, because I heard you talking about this. You're always trying to convince someone to do something, and that you have to pitch to them, right? So
it's communication, right? It's a communication style. If you think about the way you engage with other people, you're either telling a story, you're asking them questions, or you're trying to get them to do something. Like, there's just not a lot of room in conversation, right? And so anytime you're trying to get someone to see your way of thinking, you have to walk them through the process of how do they conceptualize it, contextualize it, and actualize it in that order. And if you don't do it, that's fine. They'll do it on their own, but they may not use the information in the order that you want it to be used in, right? It may just come, and that's why you'll get people that will explain and pitch and talk and try to convince somebody of something, and they're so stunned that the person said no, or they came to a different opinion, and they just can't understand how the person can't see it the same way they do. It's like, because their information is processed different than yours.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk more about being a TV executive. Can you explain what it means to be a TV executive? What was it like being a TV executive? And then what lessons did you learn?
I mean, the big one, is someone has to create the television shows that you watch, right? Someone has to come up with those ideas. That was my job, basically, to come up with the ideas for shows. And then you go to the TV networks, and those are the people that have all the money and have the distribution to put it on their air. And you try to convince them that the show that you came up with would be a great idea. And then not only that they should give you the money to go and produce it and then bring it back made, right? And so that was the goal, the day-to-day goal of my job. Or, I used to run a television network, so I would be the person trying to decide what would go on the air. And so the industry it is very similar to doing any sort of job. You are selling an idea to another person, and you got to make them see the value in it. So it was It's a grind. It's a grind like any other business.
Yeah. And you said earlier, when we were talking about this, you said you were doing it really to chase money. Did you were you just doing it because of that? Or did you actually also love it? Because I can see you're really passionate about it. So was it like both of them or one of them? Or
No,
was it like...
I didn't love it.
Oh, really?
I loved being successful. That's what it was.
Okay,
I grew up in
got it.
Canada. I had a lot of problems as an entrepreneur. I could not get anything working. The Canadian sort of culture is not geared for entrepreneurship. I just didn't fit in. And when I moved to the United States, everything clicked. Everything started working. My life instantly opened up into what it later became today. But what I found is after 28 years of struggle, I finally found something that I was good at and that people appreciated, and that I could be successful, and I had money for the first time in my life. And so all of these things were, to me, pinned on the entertainment industry. And so then once I got past all that and it became like my life and not something that I was obtaining for the first time, I started to realize that what I really enjoyed was, being successful and being recognized for success and being appreciated. Like that was a big thing. And then once that started to come away from the entertainment industry, as the business just got harder, it just got harder to sell shows, and the relationships got harder, and just everything it's a difficult business. And so I stopped feeling that same level of success. I was doing well, but it wasn't the same. And it was little things like, selling a TV show now doesn't have the same impact as it did 15 years ago, right? Like I was very excited every time I sold one. Now it's expected. I sold 6 last year. I got to sell 7 this year. It lost its creative wonderment and turned into a bean counting business. So once that left, I didn't have the passion for the creative of the television side of it whatsoever. And that's what I realized, wait, this isn't what I love. I love the process of it. And that's why I ended up being in the book side of it, because I started working with other companies outside of television, helping them pitch and present their ideas and helping their companies launching startups. And I realized oh, wow, this is the feeling I used to have when I started in television. So that's why I decided to sort of take a step back from that and write the book.
That's amazing. Yeah. So I was watching a video of you, and it was on NBC Seattle. You said that you said simple is the new sexy. I know my audience is a lot of high schoolers. I think we have a different definition of what sexy is, but what did you mean by that? And can you explain that a little more?
Well, I mean, listen, I think sexy in our culture is alluring, and you desire it, and it makes you pay attention, and it's fun to be around, and you're drawn to it, right? That's sort of the general definition. Mm-hmm. So metaphorically speaking, simple, someone who pitches and speaks simply in today's world is appealing, and people are drawn to that. And you almost can't resist yourself, because when someone speaks so plain and so simple, and they don't oversell it and they don't overtalk, it conveys a level of confidence that you just are attracted to. And so it's kind of like it's that same vibe where it's just like, ooh, I like that person. Like that is someone I want to be aligned with. And if you can simplify your message and speak in a simplified fashion, it separates you from everybody else.
Well, thank you so much, Brant. How can people find you online or check you out and stuff like that?
I'm pretty easy at Brant Pinvidic. You can get me on any of the social platforms. You can go to 3minuterule.com, see all my goodies there. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, and have a great rest of your day.
Rock on.